that's working. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Going Down the Rabbit Hole with RawC, your host, Michael Rossi. I'd like to welcome you all to a fantastic show. I've got a great guest on for us today. We're going to be talking with Dr. Waismann. Dr. Waismann is a leading scientist, doctor. He has developed a cure to opioid dependency. And right now it's being ignored by modern medicine and by the suits and the people in Washington and the basically anyone who's running the country right now, and wants to keep people on a treatment program rather than curing them. So we're going to enter in. I did a horrible job. I didn't hit the record button in time. So the doctor's going to kind of enter in as he's talking about endorphins and how they work in the body.
Now, the problem is that once, for whatever reasons, you introduce an external opiate that will compete with our natural endorphins, we produce just micrograms of endorphins a day, and people will expose the brain, for whatever reasons, to milligrams. So it's a process that, first of all, the euphoria, the feeling is fantastic because it's the same feeling you have when you discharge endorphins in a good amount. Like immediately, when people are making love at the end, there's a huge discharge of endorphins that give that feeling of high, of 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 joy, of being relaxed. Even people is natural to fall asleep because you receive like an injection of endorphins.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
imagine that feeling 100 times stronger. So when people try for the first time, for whatever reasons, as I said, they didn't try usually because they have an addictive personality. No, because somebody offered to them, and even is worse than that because people who are dependent on opiates, they are perceived as addicts. So if somebody is not perceived as an addict, they are not afraid of trying because they think this will not happen to me. I don't fit the profile of an addict. I never had a problem with addiction. So they dare to expose the brain to that and they feel great. They are not dependent yet, but when they use, the body don't feel the need to produce the same amount of endorphins, so the endorphin levels will go down. But the person is still enjoying the effects of what he used from outside. Now, when you do it again and again and again, eventually you're going to create a biological event that by using more and more and more, the biological event will turn into a medical illness, which is when you compromise your endorphin system. So your body no longer can provide you with the endorphins that you need. So once you don't produce endorphins, all the systems that endorphins play their role will go out of track, which is the withdrawal syndrome. So when
Okay.
talking about fluid regulation, the patient will have lacrimation, the nose will start running, sweating, thermoregulation, he'll feel chills, cold and hot, pain regulation, they're going to feel pain in all the body, they can't sleep. I mean, all the functions of endorphins will be totally out of track, which is the withdrawal syndrome, as I said. Sorry?
So I just wanted to stop you there for a second because you're saying this can just happen to anybody. You don't
Of
have to
course,
be,
of course.
and we're naturally making these things, and activities like sex or anything that really turns you on is gonna just give you endorphins naturally. And even running. And someone comes across this product, they try it, and it gives them this unbelievably good feeling, and they never were
Right,
an addict or had an addictive personality prior to that. I just wanted to kind of
right.
brief that. So yeah, so continue. So now what next? What happens next?
No, suddenly this person is caught in a situation that they have to learn to become somebody else. I mean, they have to hunt for self-healing because if they don't bring the stuff to use, the body will punish them
Oh,
with
and
a terrible withdrawal.
with
So they have
terrible.
no choice. Now, Then comes the second stage because we produce endorphins and our endorphins bind to our opioid receptors. So we have specific receptors in the brain to collect endorphins. Now, how many receptors I have? I don't know, but I just have what I need. So what happens is that I need an amount of receptors according to the amount of endorphins I produce. I mean, an Olympic athlete will produce more endorphins because they work out many hours a day. Therefore, they're going to have more receptors, like a musician as well, or all kinds of activities that raise up the level of endorphins. So a person that have a life with those activities, they will have more receptors. The problem is once you create more receptors, you're going to need a higher dosage to achieve the same feeling.
So
And then you use more,
and
and then you make more receptors. And at the end, if $50 a day was enough, you're going to need $100 and 150 and $200. And once you need more, this will influence in your social and psychological behavior because you're going to be pushed into a corner that you have to bring the money no matter what. And then you go into crimes, prostitution, you lose your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and as I said before, you learn how to become somebody else. But this is a biological event, so the psychological and social aspects of it are not the source of the problem. They are the secondary effect of an untreated primary illness, because people can enjoy opiates but once they develop a dependency, the fun is over and becomes just worse because there's a point, it doesn't matter how much they use, they will not feel good anymore. So they reach a day that the amount they think they need will be the amount that will kill them. So
exact.
if society would offer them an effective, safe, and humane treatment that will take away the withdrawals and will take away the cravings as well, because craving is a psychological manifestation of a biological problem. They have too many receptors. Now imagine that you have 12 stomachs and people tell you, don't eat too much, hold yourself, be strong, be motivated. Of course, at the end, you're going to eat. So that's the problem. So opiate dependency, there's two legs. One, the body does not produce endorphins anymore. The system is compromised. But if you go to any kind of detox, what will happen? You're going to go through the withdrawals. Let's say that you succeed. And then you're going to produce a normal amount of endorphins again. But this time, a normal amount of endorphins will not be able to bind in all the new receptors. Therefore, they feel this mental hunger that we call craving, and they have mood swings and they are totally unbalanced. So people that we treat today, they went to several treatments before. Actually, I don't know if I ever met somebody that is opiate dependent that didn't try several times to
Oh,
stop.
I think it's the recovery rate is what, 10%? 10% of people usually cover when they're going through
4 to 5%.
really, okay. And that's really a low number. When we're talking about what you're talking about is a scientific procedure, not psychological. And you're
But
saying,
by the way, psychology is not something floating in the air. Is chemistry as well. If you have a diabetic patient out of balance that doesn't take insulin, psychologically, he'll be all over the place.
mhm.
So our chemistry influences in our psychology, in our behavior, in many other things. So what I'm trying to tell you is that modern medicine allows us to reverse opioid dependency in any patient on its
So
physical and psychological aspects.
So why today are we not looking at these scientific methods that you just explained to us and ignoring that the fact that you can take someone who has an opiate addiction and scientifically reverse this chemical imbalance in a
I
limited
tell you,
amount of time?
I tell you, the problem became epidemic in the early 60s. It's not now. There's a song of Johnny Cash you can see in the YouTube, is Junkie's Lament. So Johnny Cash sing that song live in this specific video, and before he sings, he talks about the epidemic. I'm talking the 60s. So politicians every 3 4 years they raise up the problem for political reasons, but the problem is there for many years. But in the 60s, 70s, we did not have the technology to understand opioid receptors. So medicine could not come up with an answer. And what policymakers they do when you have a crisis, all they can do is to put money into it. So they created what is called addiction medicine. Now, addiction medicine, imagine a train track that both sides will never meet. So you have medicine in one side, and you have addictive medicine, addiction medicine that is all based on preconceptions, on moral prejudices, on theories, nothing to do with science. And the problem is, once the situation becomes more chaotic, worse and worse every year, they put more money into the wrong direction. So they pull out opiate dependency from mainstream medicine. And the halls of medicine today are shut, are closed for opiate dependent patients because they are judged, they are confronted, and there's no science being offered to them. So the American government gives billions and billions and billions of dollars for rehab centers, detox centers. The insurance companies, they pay 30, 40, $50,000 for detox. But those people, they don't need detox. They need their endorphin system repaired. And that's all. That's
And
all.
that, and now that's what you're offering at accelerated neuroregulation is you're able to actually repair these damages.
Of course, of course. First
And
of
you
all, is a malfunction and is something, those actual receptors we can block. And a receptor is like a locker, and the substance is the key. So if you block the locker, in time, the locker will go through a process of dystrophia, atrophia, that it will change morphologically. So the substance cannot bind anymore, and the receptors become unfunctionable. So the goal of our treatment is to reestablish a normal balance between endorphins and receptors. And our rehab, long term rehab program is very simple: good nutrition, physical activities, intellectual stimulation. So you're going to have a good endorphin system kicking and allow you to enjoy the ride of life. Now, the same advice I would give to anybody else. If you yourself will improve, will optimize your endorphin system, you're going to be a happier man or woman. You understand? So those people, they're not different than us. So once you correct the chemical imbalance and you re-regulate, you modulate back the system, all you have to tell them, now go and take good care of your vessel. Because some people talk about psychology is like the brain is floating in the air. No, the brain is part of our body, at least where I come from. And being the brain part of your body, you have to give good nutrition to your brain so you can feel well. So everything is biology on that. And what you have outside is stimulations. For example, gratitude. So we teach our patients to have, first of all, gratitude. Wake up in the morning and say, thanks. What a wonderful world. And I'm alive and I can breathe and I can move my fingers and I can move my legs. So start from there and then optimize what you can and enjoy your life. So to make those people feel guilty, you're an addict and you're going to be an addict for life.
if you walk into the woods for 10 miles, I mean, it's like a 10-mile walk back. But for a newborn baby,
Yeah.
instead of giving it morphine and feeding it drugs, you're actually going to, in 45 minutes, make this baby like a new cell phone. Like it has no problems, no viruses, there's nothing on it. It's not inheriting the disease from the mother, which is, well, not the disease, excuse me, but inheriting the addiction or the dependency from the mother.
In a newborn, I tell you, 45 minutes dependency. Now you have children, you know that today around 65% of cancers in children are curable. The problem is a lot of those children, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, due to pain management, they receive opiates. And when they develop a dependency, they can be cured from the cancer, but they will remain dependent. So you have thousands and thousands of children that they go to school under the effects of methadone. They cannot feel love. They cannot feel excited. They are they are numb. They are like zombies. To reverse that on a child will take, I don't know, an hour and a half.
It is crazy. It's crazy to me when you're talking about you have an actual proven scientific method that was going to lead into my next question is why aren't there universities out there that are now training doctors and schools that are training professionals to actually do what you're doing right now so that we can almost multiply them. You see, I'm a teacher and that's what I do. 24 students, 5 times a day, almost 100 different lives I touch, and then they're going to go out there in the world and they're going to use their training from me, and it's just going to continue to multiply like a cell multiplies when a baby's born. So why aren't we
How old are
training?
you? How
I'm
old are you?
I'm 36 years old, doctor.
Okay, so you're another generation. You never heard about a band that is called Supertramp? You ever heard about that?
The super tramp.
Yeah. So
Um
anyway, they have a
no,
song and they have an album. The name is Crime of the Century. So this is the crime of the century. And the crime of the century are not the pharmaceutical industry, are the universities, Harvard, Yale, Stanford. They lead the scientific world in medicine. Now they receive millions every year to research addiction because it's a very sexy and fancy issue. What they do with that money? How come university 60 years, millions they use to make a lot of new professors because they write a lot of scientific papers with zero benefit for the patients? The treatments they are doing today are the same treatments they did 60 years ago. So if you want to put somebody against the wall and shoot them, is the academics. And I tell you more
well,
than that. There's a
hey doctor,
tragedy.
and hey
There's a
doctor, I
tragedy. There's a tragedy that's happening in every hospital in this country and in the world. You know what's the tragedy? Doctors are not using enough opiates because they are afraid. They don't know what to do with that. So imagine that what I do will be widely available in every hospital. So when you are hospitalized with pain, they will give you opiates for free, as much as you need. Just smile the whole day. And the day before discharge home, they do a test. If you have a dependency, it will take an hour to reverse it because you just dependent for a month, not 20 years. So if at the hospitals they would know what I know, which is very basic medicine, patients will be treated totally different. So all the suits you see against the pharmaceutical industry just shows how crazy the world is. Because if I will be the pharmaceutical industry, I will sue the universities because of their ignorance. People are not buying my product. People are afraid to use an excellent medication, which is opiates. Do you understand?
upside down. And doctor, that's why I've started this podcast down the rabbit hole. And you're one of our very early guests, so I am very happy to have you on and have you saying the things that you're saying, especially with the wasted money that the government's making, the fact that we have suits and lobbyists for drug companies that are completely ignoring the fact that we have human lives that are suffering and dying every single day. I'm working with an individual named Mark Savek and what Severchek, and what we're doing is we're creating the American lobby. This is a lobby for the people by the people, and the American country is an experiment more so than anything. And what we're seeing now is big business and really bullies is what they are. Come in and stop people like you who are extremely intelligent. And when I saw and listened to what you had to say, I said, this guy's fantastic. I have to have him on because what he says is the truth. And
No, no, the tragedy, listen, listen. The tragedy is that I'm not fantastic. I'm a hardworking man. I take very serious what I do. But all I'm doing is using basic medical procedures, basic medicine, modern medicine, and I have a lot of experience. I treated more than, I don't know, 25,000 people. But so I have a lot of experience. But everything I'm doing, any good anesthesiologist can do. I was at the Senate in Washington and I spoke with the senators. I said, listen, guys, Israel, I'm from Israel. Israel and America, we are like brothers in arms. If Israel develop a new high tech whatever for a warplane, you guys are gonna have it in 10 minutes. How come our veterans in Israel are being properly treated for 30 years? And your veterans are walking like zombies and committing suicide. And they are receiving medicine from 60 years
Well,
ago. How
can I
come?
answer that? Yeah, I'm going to say the answer to that is because replacing these drugs with Suboxone and then pushing doctors to prescribe the Suboxone and these alternative treatment methods that are not curing opiate addiction at all, only just making someone completely dependent on something else, is making a boatload of money. And when someone like you comes in and says, hey, I can totally get rid of this, this can be something that doesn't exist anymore, it seems kind of scary to them. But I think what they're failing to mention is they can actually make more money selling opiates now. They can go back
Listen,
to
listen. Uh, uh, listen, I've been in more than 30 countries fighting this battle. And I can give you an advice for you not to use in vain your energy. Has to go through the legal system. We need to make a class action with people who lost their children and to put those doctors against the wall and sue them for millions and millions of dollars. You know why? Because a layman can be ignorant about what I do, but somebody that receives money are treating people and they are aware of what they do, but they never call me to say, Dr. Weismann, could you tell me what are you doing? So if you don't have even scientific curiosity, you are a criminal.
well,
It's like there's cure for cancer, but I never heard
well,
about it. So die.
doctor,
Do you understand? So the legal system, you have to hurt people in their pockets. So is to put together a law office that will take my expert opinion and will prove them that those doctors treating those rehab centers, detox centers, they are criminals. Because when this is your professional and you don't know better, you are a criminal. Do you
oh,
understand?
absolutely. When you're, and the problem is with administration because these administrators and the people, well, let's put it this way. I'm not an administrator of anywhere. However, I can see the problems that are happening in that world where I'm watching what you're doing and I'm saying to myself, if I'm leading a medical company somewhere and I have money to put into research, I'd be calling you up right now and saying, "Doctor, can you come train the people for me to that work for my institution and teach them to do what you do?" But that's not how the minds of these people are working today, and that's the scary part and why you are exactly right where you've got to hit them where it hurts, their wallets, their money. And
Listen, at the Senate, I told them, you are fighting an epidemic, right? Give me 10 doctors. I stay in Washington 1 year. I pay for my hotel. Let me teach 10 doctors and let each doctor teach another 10. And the epidemic will be over sooner than you think without spending any money. It's just knowledge.
and,
And this knowledge is basic
and
medicine.
doctor, tell me, what was the
Now,
response when you said that? What was the answer? What did you get? What did they say to you?
nothing. I when the meeting was like 35 or 40 senators in that room. And when we finished, nobody approached me. And then I left. And then one senator, a short guy, I don't remember his name, he ran fast. She came, Dr. Weismann. You know, don't expect anybody to contact you because it's too much money. We as politicians, we need to give a reason so we can control a lot of money. What you tell me is that 1 day of hospitalization instead of 1 year of rehab. So you're going opposite to the system. So nobody will listen to what you have to say. It's too much money invested. Therefore, those people are committed. When you have money invested, the people are committed. So what I'm doing in America, I'm trying to train as many anesthesiologists as I can. Right now, people don't know better, so I have to create a demand. Meanwhile, people have to pay privately, and anesthesia costs a lot of money, and the insurance companies are not paying. So my task is to spread the word and teach more anesthesiologists. Eventually, when people be educated, they will demand better treatments, and then the insurance companies will have no choice but to pay for it. So my goal in my life at this stage is to become not relevant. As long as I am relevant, I'm losing my battle. People like to be relevant, people like to be famous. I'm in the other direction. I cannot die being relevant, because if I die being relevant, means that I fail in my life, in my purpose.
Well, I agree with you there, doctor. And I don't want to take any credit for anything I do in my life anymore. All I want to do is make the world a better place than it was for my child, when I leave it. And I certainly see that that's something that you are trying to do. And I love how humble you are and how honest you are, because I think that's something that we don't get from doctors today in this country is honesty. And I think money has a lot to do with that. I'm I'd like to work. I
Arrogance,
arrogance, absolutely.
arrogance,
I I'd
arrogance.
like to work with you more and help you so that we can get ANR into into to schools so that people are learning how to do this.
Listen, I don't want people to misunderstand me. It's not A&R. A&R is a name. And a name defines something. So when I don't call detox and I call regulation, somebody else can call modulation. Doesn't matter. All I say is that open the halls of medicine to those people. Don't discriminate them. Don't be ignorant, because we are hurting them unnecessarily, and they are hurting society back. Hepatitis, AIDS, prostitution, crimes, you know, because they have no choice. We betray them. Not treating them like human beings. Dogs, they have better care.
I was going to say next, doctor, is that you have actually in some of the video that I watched, you talk that you've actually treated people who are politicians and people who are of social stature. And I guess it's almost like a hypocritical thing where somebody who is, pushing for laws like this is like loving your treatment, but at the same time, we're having trouble.
Listen. I can tell you that I treat people from Hollywood, rock and roll stars, and a Nobel Prize winner. I treated the king, the vice president of a country. I treated many people like that. But I would choose to tell you that I treated several doctors that work in the field of addiction. That when they have a problem, they flew to Israel. And when they have a son or a daughter or an important person, they knew how to find me. And I'm talking about dozens of people working in this field that flew all the way to Israel to have their loved ones treated by me. So they cannot claim they don't know what I'm doing. And I asked them, aren't you curious? Why you didn't bring a critical care physician with you so he can have a look?
And
Are you not curious? How come you never gave me a call if you know I exist?
ex-
I work in the same field as you, or I'm a liar. But if I claim that I can reverse opioid dependency in any human being, man, that's what you do your whole life. I'm sorry, I can't say fucking in this
you
program.
can go ahead. Yeah, we're going down the rabbit
Okay,
hole,
buy a
man. This is the
fucking
rabbit hole.
ticket. Yeah, okay, buy a fucking ticket, fly to Israel, put your butt in my clinic for 1 week in respect to your patients. So you work in this field for 20 years, you know what I'm doing in Israel, and you cannot spend $1,000 on a ticket to sit your butt in my clinic and see what I'm doing? Do you
Oh,
understand? Do you know how many of those people from those clinics came to see me? I tell you, nobody.
and that's a shame. That's an absolute shame.
It's not a shame. It's criminal.
Oh, you know what? I need to drink whatever it is that you had today because I'm obviously not on my game because you're right. It is criminal. It is criminal. And the fact that this is what not just doctors, but the big business that are running everything are getting away with. And I think what's really important though is that we have a platform now, and the fact that we have social media, and we have what I mean, I don't want to say people like me, but I've had enough, and I'm a human being, not a human not being, and I don't want to be a human not being. I want to.
Listen, you didn't know who Supertramp was. Do you know the Grateful Dead? You heard about this
Yep,
band? How Jerry Garcia died? Can you tell me?
a drug
And he died from
a
what?
drug overdose.
People say that he died from drugs,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I thought.
Yeah, okay. Obese, diabetic, heart problems, high blood pressure, and he wanted to withdraw from methadone. So who was treating him? I tell you, a psychiatrist.
Hmm.
Do you really believe Jerry Garcia needed a psychiatrist? So he didn't have a cardiologist, a critical. He died during a withdrawal. So he didn't die from drugs. He was killed by the ignorance of doctors. What about Tom Petty, Prince? Those are celebrities that die unnecessarily. But for every mother, I say that there's a mother prayer here and everywhere. The worst person in the world has a father and a mother. Doesn't matter. So for the mother, her son is her celebrity. So people are dying, and even people that have money and they can buy any treatment, they are not aware, because everybody tried to boycott me in the internet because nobody wants to hear what I have to say. So my battle is a little bit complicated, especially with the new technologies, because the internet can observe
Oh,
anything. People can
oh,
write what they
absolutely.
want.
But you know what? There is something that we're doing now, and that is, like I mentioned to you before, creating the American lobby, which is for the people. No longer are the big companies going to be able to just hire these lobbyists to go in, because we're going to come together as Americans, and we are going to have something that you can't take away from us. And that's something that we own. And I think that your issue and that what you're pushing needs to be number one on our agenda. I mean, we're working on things like term limits, but this is one of those things that needs to be right on up there, because people are dying, and
Yeah.
their sons, their daughters, their and lives are being broken, and they don't have to, because what you're telling me right now is you can cure that, and that no longer has to be something.
Not me. Me and
Your,
any good critical care
excuse
physician.
me, your process, your scientific process, that if it was taught to these doctors, would be able to cure this all over the country, the world, everywhere.
Yes, yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
I think what you're doing is fantastic, and I don't think anyone's going to stop you. I think you're just going to keep getting hotter from here, doctor. I really do, because you've got me, and I'm behind you 100%. Because I would love to be able um, to have what you're offering other people, and that is something that is freedom. And you really are need to be training people. There needs to be people out there that know how to do this, so that you can walk into a hospital, not walk in if you get in a car accident, but get stretchered into a hospital, let the doctor pound you with opiates, so that when you get done, a very simple test, and then you're withdrawn and you're back enjoying your life again. You're not going home with a bottle of pills and an
Right.
entire life of the insurance company making money off of you, and big business making money off of you. And I mean, this is just a microcosm of what's happening in our country and the world everywhere else, but we've got your back, doctor, 100%. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no, I really do. They have the CARA Act. Why can't money from the CARA Act or any of these other acts that are spending billions of dollars? Why have you applied for funding? Have you applied for anything like that?
The day I apply for funding, people start pulling my strings, and nobody pulls my strings. So I know, in life is not the money, is where is from who you want to receive the money.
Yeah.
I don't dance with
No,
Satan. I'm
I
sorry.
I love that answer. I really do, and that's why. we've actually what we're doing right now, and I'm working with this gentleman who actually founded the American Lobby. Is that's what we don't want. We don't want big donations. We want an American to donate $5, $10. That's it, you
Yes,
know.
yes.
And
No, you can have donation from the
from the
people.
people,
From the
yes,
people that will support your important work,
exactly.
of
And then we
course.
will go.
Listen, what you're doing is so important. I did my part, but without guys like you, nobody will know because in the internet, they're going to block me and block me and block me. So, what you're doing, you are fighting my battle. Your job, what you're doing is very, very, very important. You are saving lives. If one person listen to this conversation and will be treated, you save their lives, not me. I'm just a technician. But by putting this out there, that's your
Well,
part.
hey, I feel the same way as you. I'm just a guy behind a microphone, you know.
No, no, it's much more than that.
Well, it's a work that is for the people, and that's what we are. Is we are a community of people that are living here on this island of western part of the world, and we have problems, and we need to address them. And the only way they're going to get addressed is if we speak the truth and if we talk about these things. And you know, people with money in their pockets and want to keep putting money in their pockets hear something like this, they get scared. And like you were
Yeah.
saying, they want to shut us down. But let me tell you something, Doctor. We have right now in the works is an NFT system set up so that when you become a member of the American Lobby, you own something. And they can't take that from us. And they're not going to be able to get rid of views or stop what we're doing because we're going to have our website. And when we poll, people are actually going to be able to see these things. So when we post your video or any views that are coming to the attention of what's happening, it can't be blocked. It can't be stopped. It can't be, hey, we don't like this. Hey, that's tough shit. This is America. We live in it, and this is what we want. If you know what, people just don't know, doctor, what you do. If there was a parent out
Yes.
there, like you said, who watched this right now and said, wow, I have a child who's battling with addiction, and I would take my very last dollar I have out of the bank right now and take a ride over to see Dr. Weissman, they would absolutely 100% do it because
No, or I would demand that the insurance companies will pay for it. Because people have to start requesting. But for that, people should be educated. I think the key is education, or you find somebody that can sponsor a legal act, like putting against the wall the academics, making a sue or against anyway. Through the legal system, we can break the pattern, or from the people. But meanwhile, we have to give knowledge to the people. Ignorance is a big weapon.
oh, it is absolutely, and it's more prevalent now than ever. But you know what? That's going to stop because you came on today and talked to us, and I'm just so you absolutely have no idea how thrilled I am to get into the editing room now. And just
Good luck on that one.
I really am excited because I just I can't wait for people to see this. I know that you have videos out there already, but it's just there needs to be more out there, and not so like you said, it's not ANR, it's not Dr. Weissman, it's this
Mhm.
information. It's training people so that you can walk into any hospital. Like, you know, if my appendix is going to burst right now, I don't even have insurance. I can go into a hospital and they're going to keep me alive. But if I'm withdrawing and I go into the hospital, what are they going to do? You know,
They're gonna kick you out.
Mm, they're going to kick me out.
They're gonna give you something and kick
And
you
you
out.
know what's really interesting is a lot of people that I know who are have had dependency are some of the best people I know. They're some of the most brilliant people I know. When you
I
go to
know.
rooms in recovery and you listen to people who have recovered talk, you're like, holy shit, you're an addict, and you're like, yeah, well, was, and people are blown away because it's really usually the most intelligent people who had to figure out the ways to live, and that's what you're talking about. It's like, you know, once you develop this dependency, it's like the chair is now my master. If that chair tells me to carry that, that I'll carry it until it tells me to put it down, you know?
Yeah,
So, hey, thank you very much for coming out. Johnny has one more question. Can you answer Johnny's one last question, doctor?
of course. I'll try.
Dr. Weissman, what you do I think is amazing. You're saving people's lives and stuff, and I'm just being devil's advocate here, and I just want to know your thoughts. What do you think about if you make it a lot more easy for people to get off of opiates, that people who are addicted to opiates will take away that safety net, so they'll use opiates because they just think it's easier to get off of them now?
No,
Do you have children?
I do not.
no.
Okay, the day you're going to have children, take them to the dentist and tell the dentist not to use anesthesia to hurt them, so they will brush their teeth twice a day, every day. I mean, we're not judges. We don't punish people. If people want, so what's the problem? It's like weed. If people, some people will use, and they will feel high, and the moment they are dependent, they have a way out, and that's it. I'm not God, and I don't judge people, and people can decide to do whatever they want. Some people nowadays do all kind of funny things, with their bodies. I see some women that God, I don't know, everything is artificial, and it's terrible. But in my opinion, there's nothing natural anymore. So I will not educate people and tell them what to do with their lives. But I am a physician. If somebody drives drunk and he comes to the hospital with a spleen bleeding, I will not let him die because he's driving drunk. When a politician that is fat, smokes, drinks, lives with a high tension because of his greed and proud, when he has a heart attack, I don't tell you, why do you live like that? It's your fault. Go and eat shit. I will not treat you. You know, do we treat smokers?
Well,
Of course we do.
we do.
So what I try to tell you, why when you're talking about addiction or dependency, suddenly doctors are judges. We moral confront people.
You,
What is that?
though, I don't think, and to answer with you, doctor, Johnny, I don't think that many people that are in opioid addiction want to be in that addiction, and I think that they
No, they
they want to
wanted to
be
feel high.
free. They
Nobody wanted to become
No,
dependent.
no. So the only reason they're continuing to use is because they have to. They have no choice. But I'll tell you what, they're begging God, please, if they do believe in God, they're saying, please, I don't want to do this anymore. They want to flush it down the toilet. So, John, I think that if anyone was given an opportunity to not feel the pain of withdrawal and to feel the same way that they did even when they were using, because when you're using a drug, you get to a point where you're not even getting high anymore. You're just using it so that you can continue to live a functioning life. And nobody wants to do. I don't know anybody who wants. I don't know any drug user who wants to.
No, but again, if there's a very small minority of people,
A very small.
you have
That's
people
small. Yeah.
not related to drugs that they are in jail because they see a beautiful woman and they have to grab them. They see a nice watch in somebody, they need to steal. I mean, there's all kind of bad people out there, and they too have mothers and fathers. So we are not here to make brain transplant or to turn bad human beings, because there's some bad guys out there. But we give an opportunity for somebody who had an accident to be healed, because that's what I study medicine for, not to confront anybody, not to judge anybody. I'm from Israel. I fought wars, and when the enemy was not killed but was wounded, I treated them immediately. And that's what we learn how to do. I see somebody bleeding, I have to stop that bleeding, and doesn't matter who is that
And
person.
that's how it should be. I know construction workers who have used opiates from other construction workers, but never done anything like that before in their life. And all of a sudden, their ability to work is increased. They're
Of
doing
course,
they're
of course.
doing things with their family extracurricular instead of recovering from a week of work.
Yeah,
And
they don't need to sleep much.
yeah,
They have a lot of energy.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they never meant to do that. It was just there that one day, and this guy said, "Hey, take this," and you won't feel your pain anymore, dude. You can go
Man,
for
if you
hours.
listen, imagine the police force, which kind of pressure those policemen they live, which kind of injuries they have. Now think about that. Do you know how many policemen in this country are opiate dependent? Do you have any idea?
I
Okay, nobody has
No
any
one does because
idea,
they never tell you.
but they cannot be
They
different
can't.
than the general population. The opposite. They have much more triggers than other people to start using opiates to relieve their psychological pressure and even physical pain. Now, let me ask you a question. What would happen if, when somebody is shot by the police or somebody is hurt by the police, if the families will start asking for urine screen, and they start discovering that many policemen are carrying guns and making decisions under the influence of opiates, which disattach you a little bit from what it's supposed to be
Is
emotionally.
this actually
So
happening? Or
listen, I can talk about so many issues or so many important decisions. Do you know how many truck drivers are addicted and dependent? Do you know how dangerous it is that they can nod with a huge truck in the middle of a road? And this happens. Now, people don't talk about those things because others will be afraid. But I can talk for hours, and people have no idea of the consequences of this epidemic. It's everywhere, by the way.
that's the sad thing about it, doctor, is like you said, is that people are clueless and are probably talking and interacting with people each and every day that are under the influence and really have no idea because they're just on a functioning level. And there's times where you don't take enough or you take too much, and then that's when the accident happens and people die.
Yeah. Or people are killed. Accidentally, others will die as
Killed.
well.
Yeah, exactly. Not died, killed. I got to start using the right terminology because you're very serious about this, and I am too. But you're hitting the nail right on the head here because these guys are absolute criminals.
Yeah.
Well,
They don't love you very much.
what the last thing I gotta say again is just thank you, and I'd love to have you on again to just discuss and talk any ideas or where we're going with the American lobby and how you're feeling about what's going on right now with just the decisions that are being made in this country, and we'll continue to support you. What we're trying to do here is just is really fantastic work for people, the American people, and having a voice that isn't ABC, NBC, CBS, the voice that the tell love vision because they just want us to hear what they say. And I'm kind of sick and tired of that. And I've come home from working in a school where I can tell you the things that are happening in public schools are not what people would actually think. But that's only because the public school system was developed so that parents could go to work, and we have a whole problem with that now. And it scared me because when I've been in this field, education, for 7 years, and when I saw what was going on, I couldn't believe it. I said, "This is crazy." It's almost like you in the medical field, and I said, finally, I'm going to buy a microphone and I'm going to buy a camera and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to start talking to people and we're going to find out what's going on here. And that's why I named the show Down the Rabbit Hole, because the only way that we're going to find out the truth is it going down rabbit holes, and people might not like it, but hey, guess what? We're here, and we're here to stay. So thank you, doctor, for giving
You're
us your
welcome.
time. You really are just a fascinating guy. Like, you're so humble, but you really are just really fascinating, man. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and I hope we can have you on again.
Okay. God bless you.
Hey,
Thank you
God
very
bless you,
much.
doctor. Have a good day.
You
Bye bye.
too. Bye bye.